Yeah. Way up there. Launch way up there. Okay. Hi. This is on vibrate. I don't doubt anyone will call. Oh. Okay.
Schedule a board meeting for May 9th, 2019 to order. Roll call, Vice President Pizzotti.
Here.
Clerk Jackson will be joining us later. Trustee Kirby Gonzalez will be calling in from Occidental, California later. Trustee Alcala?
Here.
And I am present. May I have this young lady lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Is that who you're pointing to?
The lady, yes, you. Sorry.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get approval of the agenda, or are there any amendments to the agenda?
Okay. Second.
Okay. All in voice vote, right? Oh, no, Sarah's not on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. Moving on to E, Communications and Celebrations, recognition of the Regional Student Art Contest. Ms. Nakiba Gregory? Hi, Nakiba. Welcome.
We have a lot of winners this year. So we have students that showed in for the Youth Art Month over at Crocker Art Museum. And we were able to have 3 students that did a fabulous job. One was Johnny Lou from Stonegate. Come on up, Johnny. He did his picture. Go ahead.
Oh, wow,
Of
nice.
body proportions, and he created the ice rink, and it's all done in color pencils.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So, and this is in the district for your, and just stay up here. And then we have William Albright. He did a linoleum. He's from Bridgeway, and his was also in the Crocker Art Museum.
Nice.
He's very proud of his.
Oh, they're so talented.
He beautifully done all on handmade paper. We did some extra prints, and his prints also got to go to the fundraiser for Bridgeway, and 2 of his prints got sold. So that was
Wow.
nice. And he won second place in the middle school division.
Wow.
Very nice.
So,
Congratulations.
so congratulations. And then we have Roland Lee. He is also from Bridgeway. His is also linoleum. He did a zebra. And he won first place in his division, and this is over at the Crocker Art Museum. So for this. What's really nice about these also is because the kids, when they show in the Crocker, they have to have a written statement for their art besides just showing their artwork. But you can see, I mean, it's stellar work, and they worked really hard on it. So that's my Crocker students. Should I go ahead and go into the next ones?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Thank
So
you.
my next group is, and I have only one that has shown up so far for my River Cats. We just had a celebration art day over at the River Cats, and that's for the annual calendar contest that they have. And Deanna, come on up, is going to show her art that she won. What month was yours?
September.
September. We had 4 of the 12 months. So this is hers. Nice job. And here you go, sweetie. Congratulations. And you want to stand over here? And my other artists from the River Cats are not here. They came to the River Cats, but they're not here. I did give them the updated time, but unfortunately, they're not here at the moment. I did have an after-school program that was not actually an after-school program. We just, I had students that would show up. So we participated in the Cesar Chavez contest, and my student just found out that she won $550.
Wow.
So Miss Brisa Pina. And she did
Congratulations.
and again, it's a written, you have to really show that you understand everything that Cesar Chavez spoke for and lived his dream forward. So this is a picture of the picture that will be hanging up in the CTA office for the year, and then she'll be getting this one back. So, thank you. So that's it of the kids that are here. But I also had Jasleen Singh, Max, Karchuchek, Arisha Khan, Ava Sai, and Michaela Santos, all from Bridgeway.
All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and thank you.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
It's great to see such talented students. Congratulations again. We're very proud of you. We are now moving on to WSTA report. We do not have a student report tonight. So WSTA, Don
Don.
Stauffer, I believe, is our WSTA report.
Right?
Unless there's somebody else who's providing the report.
Nope, you're stuck with me for a little while longer.
You looked at us like you did. There may have been somebody.
Usually I have to sit here a little longer before I give my report.
Yeah, unfortunately, tonight we don't have our student representative, so.
Good evening. So the end of the year is rapidly approaching, and there are a number of outstanding concerns in the district that hopefully we will get some progress reports on. Some of the things that I've been thinking about, what are the plans next year with YOLO? Who's going to be the administrator there? What is the opportunity program going to be brought back? And on that regard, I think it's very clear that one is needed. What's going to happen with all the programs that Renee Collins did all that fantastic work putting together? Is there someone who's in the district who's going to be able to follow up on those grants, write new ones, and build out that program? And do we have an expert in CTE, as I just looked at tonight's agenda? So I've just some of the things that are on my mind, and I'm hoping the district has some concrete plans moving forward, because it looks like we need to support some of our programs. As you all know, next year there's going to be an election. One of the propositions that's probably going to appear on the ballot is called the California Schools and Local Communities Funding Act. And it changes the way commercial properties are evaluated and fixes a loophole that was left behind out of Proposition 13. If it passes, it would increase state revenues on the order of about $11 billion a year. And of course, because of the way Proposition 98 works, a lot of that money will end up going into the schools, which is much needed and much wanted. So I'm asking the school board to pass a resolution in support of this measure. And I have some sample language which I will email you tonight if you don't already have it. And Norma Akala is already publicly out there in support of this measure, so I'm urging you, the board, to take a stand. And that's all I've got tonight. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you, Don. Do we have a CSEA report? I do not still see Daniel or a CSEA representative. No? Okay. That is it for our Student Association reports. We are moving on to public comment, but before then, I will read this statement. At this time, members of the public may address the board on the topics of our board agenda in addition to topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board and are not on the agenda. Although the board by law may not take action at this meeting, the board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes, unless it chooses to waive the item limit for a particular item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. Public comments consisting of individual charges, complaints, or derogatory remarks about any district employee are requested to be submitted in writing to the administration in accordance with the district's complaint procedure. We do recognize that for a lot of people, commenting before the board and the audience and the people watching at home on television is a nerve-wracking experience. So to try to make it as easy as possible, we do not ask that there not be any applause or booing or catcalling or other demonstrations to maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers. The board respects the rights of members of the public to speak to us regarding matters on the agenda and other matters within the jurisdiction of the board. However, it is important for members of the public to recognize that comments regarding students other than their own children made during a public board meeting may be legally actionable as a violation of student privacy. Both state and federal law prohibit the board and others from discussing confidential student information in open session. To this end, be advised that if you reference a student's name other than your own student, you'll be out of order and your comments may not be protected by the privileges that are protected by public speech. You could be found liable for such comments in legal proceedings. Furthermore, it is important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in a public board meeting, may be actionable civil defamation. As such, the board reminds the public that the district has existing board policy that allows the public to lodge a complaint against a district employee. This policy provides a comprehensive procedure for reviewing and responding to public complaints. The process provides a more thorough opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs the meeting. Our first public comment is from Ms. Danny Langford.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So first of all, I agree with Mr. Stauffer's comments and concerns over who's going to fill some of the gaps. And it's very concerning with all the people that are leaving our district. And I know for a fact, not all of them, but I've talked to some of them, it's because of low morale. And they don't feel valued and they feel things aren't being ethically managed. And I think that's important. So on another issue, the Ledger came out with this stunning thing about the Sycamore Trail, and I've been before you about our concerns about the Sycamore Trail. Great. But in the police blog, the very first thing on Tuesday the 29th, officers were dispatched to the Sycamore Trail for a report of a man who accosted and harassed citizens in the yard. I will not identify that person on the microphone, but it says, he was contacted nearby Westfield Elementary campus while children were present. This is exactly the concern that many of us have expressed to you guys about that Sycamore Trail not protecting our students and going right up against our schools. So in light of the recent, yet again, school shooting, that Sycamore Trail is going to be a perfect place for somebody to sit there, and if they really wanted to do damage to our students, there's a lot of ways they could hurt them. And I know you guys all know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Great. I just have parents from Stonegate Elementary School. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, that would be great.
Sure. So I am Melissa, and my children attend Stonegate Elementary School.
Hi, Melissa.
So good evening. I am here to advocate for a safe and supportive learning environment for the children particularly at this point in a certain fourth grade class at Stonegate Elementary School. Per Education Code, Chapter 864, Statutes of 1998, parents have the right to obtain assurance of a safe and supportive learning environment for their child. I am saddened to report that the children in this class have been in a hostile environment all year. The children have been shamed in front of their peers. A few examples would be, why would you do your report on soccer? You got to choose any topic and you picked soccer. Soccer's stupid, nobody likes soccer. Hey class, raise your hand if anyone likes soccer. And, wow, you finished that packet fast. Why do you keep getting Fs on all your tests? And, you aren't going to make any stupid mistakes today, are you? Early in the year, when an issue occurred in class, prompting myself and another parent to have a conversation with the principal, the following day, the teacher approached my child and asked, why are your mom and pops complaining about me to the principal? And continued to pick on my child in class in front of his peers. From this point on, several kids would report incidents of rude, belittling, and downright bullying behaviors that the teacher was doing almost daily, but absolutely did not want the parents to talk to him or the principal because they feared it would continue to get worse. They very quickly learned there would be retaliation for reporting these bullying behaviors. Us parents learned this quickly as well, and in an effort to keep things from getting worse, honored our children's request to keep it to ourselves. Several of us parents have turned to one another to try and seek clarity on what was occurring in the classroom and trying to find ways to help our kids survive the hostile environment we sent them into daily. Clearly not conducive to learning. Several of our kids have complained of stomach aches, not wanting to see the teacher or face the day at school, and wouldn't even dream of asking a question if they didn't understand a concept or needed clarification on a due date or project details. After many conversations, several parents planned to write a letter to the principal detailing the ongoings over the school year and submit it at the end of the school year so that our children wouldn't get retaliated on. However, a recent event is what brings me here with urgency today. A few days ago, during silent reading in this classroom, the teacher started yelling at the students. He yells a lot, but started yelling at them about missing books from the class library and stated that he pays for those and that now he's taking money out of their Panda Express Party fund to replace the books. As he walked past a desk yelling, a book started to fall off. The teacher promptly grabbed the book and threw it towards the class library. This book struck my child in the chin and neck area. The teacher did not apologize. He did not show remorse. He sat down, shook his head, sighed, and put his hands over his face. I'm here in hopes that the person or people who can take action to intervene and help these kids will promptly do so. Of note, I've had otherwise positive experience with Stonegate.
Thank you. Would it be possible for you to email that to us and the superintendent so we can follow up on that? Thank you so
I
much
also have
for
a
your
meeting
courage.
tomorrow. So.
Yeah, no, please do.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I have the students from Bridgeway? I understand that you want to come together as a group. Hanson, Ryan, Elena, and Kiyomi.
Good evening, I'm Katie Hansen, and today we want to talk to you about the WUSD dress code. Dress code is a set of rules that were put together to keep the school environment safe and equal, but instead make students feel uncomfortable in their own skin. The argument of what is an appropriate outfit to wear to school has been heavily debated by parents, administration, and students all around the country, and I believe it is time for the WUSD to begin a conversation as well. After a close examination of Washington Unified School District's uniform policy, I contend that the rules are outdated, confusing, and seem to target female students. The Washington Unified School District's main message is to create a safe, fun learning environment. How is the environment safe and fun when students are discriminated against through these rules due to their size, gender, and/or race? Today, I, Katherine Hansen, Elena Masongsong, Kiyomi Cruz, and Ryan Martin, all 8th graders from Bridgeway Island and members of our school's National Junior Honor Society, are here to present and advocate an argument that the school board look more closely at our district's dress code policies. Some things we request the district consider is how the dress code is enforced differently among male and female students, the confusing wording in the various codes across district schools, and the inconsistency implemented at each school. To begin, the dress code discriminates against female students. Girls are constantly told to put their arms at their sides or to cover up, and made to feel that they should be ashamed of their bodies. There is much more detail when it comes to the female dress code. For example, in the Elkhorn Village dress code, some of their policies clearly target female students with wordings and phrases such as, shorts and skirts on girls must be of appropriate length, no makeup, no hoop or dangling earrings, nose rings, lip rings, facial bolts, gauges, or other types of facial piercings. These policies specifically target the females of Elkhorn Village. The exact wording of this passage is, shorts and skirts on girls must be of appropriate length. In this passage, only girls are being spoken about. And if you were to go to the link and read further, you soon come to realize that the entire passage, only 3 out of the 22 policies are specific to boys, while 10 out of the 22 are specific to girls. Why is it that girls need so much more of a stricter dress code than the boys? Do you think it's because girls need more rules than guys? Or is it because society tells girls that they should cover up and dress appropriately, as to make sure they do not distract the men in the room? But we place the question of, what does it mean to dress appropriately? The word is simply defined by the rules society places among young adolescents in order to make them conform to the harsh societal norms and regulations. There's no true definition of appropriate, just what society wants us to believe is acceptable. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ryan Martin. Furthermore, looking at other dress codes in our district, such as the Stonegate Elementary dress code, one can see how certain dress code rules are stricter on females than males. Rules such as boys, plain white or navy blue polo shirts with collar, whereas the girls, plain white or navy blue blouses with collar, no scoop-necked, V-necked, or square-necked blouses without collars, really short skirts/shorts, appropriate length is just beyond fingertips when arms and fingers are extended at sides, low-cut tops, etc. are not allowed. Although Stonegate's dress code policies are not as intensive and discriminatory as Elkhorn's, it still portrays sexism and a higher target for female students. This is shown through the massive detail what girls can wear standing next to the little to no description of the boys' uniform. For example, females at Stonegate Elementary cannot wear scoop-necked, V-necked, or square-necked blouses. However, this is not specified for the male body. Males can wear these type of shirts according to Stonegate rules. Another rule that does not make sense is the fingertip rule. In theory, the fingertip rule is a perfect idea, but when put in action, you realize that not all people have the same sized arms. While Catherine's arms might go only to above the mid-thigh, Kiyomi's arms might go almost down to her knees. How can you fairly come to a conclusion when arms are not the same length? The answer, you cannot. You cannot make a judgment off the length of someone's shorts based off their fingertips. While we agree that your bottom should be completely covered, as this is a school, we do not quite understand the problem with showing thighs. When you see a woman's thighs as they walk across the street or into a store, do you stop and stare, or do you continue on your way? Most of the time, you do not stop to stare at a woman's thighs as they walk around. The same is true for women at school. I truly do not believe that a thigh is going to distract the learning environment, nor the attention of other students. Finally, looking at the WSD student handbook, one can better understand that the dress codes as mentioned above and as shown in Bridgeway, Riverbank, Westmore, and Southport do not match. All that is written under the WSD student handbook for dress code is uniform standards, tops, solid white or navy with collar, no logos or writing except unobtrusive stitched polo shirt logos, official school logo shirts. Dresses, jumpers, skirts, skirts, and scooters, solid khaki or navy. They must be appropriate length. Pants and shorts, solid khaki or navy, no jeans. This dress code shown is acceptable and makes sense. There's no targeting towards female students and does not discriminate against the female body. This is the dress code that should be enforced amongst all schools, but this simple code is advanced by different schools throughout the district. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elena Masongsong. For example, looking at Stonegate Shirts rules, you see all the extra rules that are added that make the dress code seem more sexist and male-friendly. Also, different regulations are added, such as shirts must cover midriff and the back. These rules are not in the original district dress code. Other rules that are added are not even mentioned, such as no facial piercings, no hoops, no shoulders, and no makeup. These rules are added in a way to discriminate against the female body. Furthermore, other school districts have changed the original dress codes and taken things out in order to make for a less sexist code. To begin, according to an article titled Leggings, Spaghetti Straps, High School Makes Surprising Changes to Dress Code, written by Scott Stump, an author for Today.com. He writes about a high school in Evanston, Illinois, and what they did to change the dress code. The text states, the high school in Evanston, Illinois went from banning leggings, tank tops, hoodies, hats, and spaghetti straps to allowing them in school all year, all in the name of body positivity and inclusion. This shows that other schools have changed their dress codes in order to promote female students, because this school went from banning all tank tops, leggings, other articles of clothing to allowing it all. This is because female students at the school thought it was unfair that girls were unable to wear this type of clothing, especially during summer months. The school realized that their policies were outdated and sexist, and changed them to benefit the female body as well as to allow their students to be more comfortable at school. Furthermore, in the article titled California District Latest to Modernize Sexist Dress Code, written by Jocelyn Gecker, on September 19, 2018, she writes about Alameda's new dress code rules and that have been changed in order to conform with a modernized way of dress. She states, the relaxed new dress code at public schools Alameda attends is intentionally specific. Midriff-bearing shirts are acceptable attire, so are tank tops with spaghetti straps and other once-banned items like micro miniskirts and short shorts. Students who initiated the change say many of the old rules that barred too much skin disproportionately targeted girls, while language calling such attire distracting sent the wrong message. This quote shows that schools in California are going certain lengths to ensure that school dress code is no way sexist or unfair towards women. As the Washington Unified School District is a uniform school, we do not ask you to take away the rules of uniform, simply to alter them to ensure fairness amongst all students. Take away the fingertip rule, the no tank top rule, rules, the anti-makeup, and the dangling jewelry rules. These rules do not make school a safer place, nor do they bring any other than sexism and hate towards Sacramento institutions. Although uniform is important for various reasons, dress code is not, especially when the rules only affect certain groups of students. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kiyomi Cruz. Some believe that dress code is important and that modesty and appropriateness is critical in your workplace. For example, in the article titled Dress for Success, The Importance of Your Workplace Attire, written by Glenn Ebersole, a journalist for ReadingEagle.com, he says, be modest. It is most important to get attention for great work rather than gaining attention for wearing the latest fashion pattern, inappropriate leisure wear, or sports that are found outside the office at a sports event, party, or beach. This shows that some believe dress code is necessary because it emphasizes the importance of modesty and appropriateness in the workplace. It shows that the person is not trying to draw attention to anything other than their work. However, this perspective is incorrect because clothing and what you wear does not define who you are as a professional. Dress code is simply something used to discriminate against women and push them to the bottom of the pile. Women already have to go through many hurdles to get what they want, and by keeping the sexist code, it only adds more problems that women have to get around in order to achieve their goals. Looking at this article closer, one realizes it is written by a man. This is significant because men and women do not have the same experiences when it comes to dress code issues, nor do they struggle through the same obstacles women do. Men are given only 1 to 2 general rules that allow them to wear pretty much anything. Women are given multiple, intensive, harsh rules that force them to wear only certain things. For example, in the article titled Do School Dress Codes End Up Body Shaming Girls?, written on May 30th, 2017 by Kelly Wallace, a journalist for CNN, she asserts, one 15-year-old girl, who we're not naming to protect her privacy, said she was given an in-school suspension for wearing shorts that were to her mid-thigh. Her teacher suggested that her clothing was suggestive and that she was asking for it. This shows that women and men do not face the same obstacles in dress code because this girl was forced to change after she was told she was asking for it. Not only is this completely inappropriate to say to a young teenager, but it also shows what girls have to do in order to be comfortable in school. For far too long, schools have made their dress codes in a way that appeal to boys and keep them from getting distracted. But forcing girls to cover up is not the answer. In the real world, men will see girls completely exposed and uncovered. They have no business questioning a woman's dress, nor should they stare at what a girl wears. Instead of punishing girls for being comfortable in their bodies and wearing clothing that makes them feel confident and happy, we should punish the boys who cannot keep their eyes to themselves. It is not fair to the female body to force them to change their attire simply because boys cannot focus. In conclusion, the students at Bridgeway Island asked the district to look at the rules and codes implemented in all schools and make changes to make the codes less sexist. We ask that you look at the rules such as the fingertip rule and the no tank top rule. Although we acknowledge the importance of uniform, we ask you to look at all the harm and distress these rules cause female students. We ask you to consider the harsh sexism already placed on females in society and ask you to be a part of the solution in making a more equal place to live by simply taking out outdated and overused rules You are already a part of the movement that will result in a more equal and opportunistic society. Boys will be boys cannot be the answer to all of the dress code issues. Together we can work together to create an equal code beneficial to all people. Thank you.
Thank you all. Very well researched, very well presented, very articulate. So we will follow up. All right, next is Mr. Colin Malik. Hard to go after that. Hard to come after that.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent and assistant superintendents. This was an unplanned public speaking, actually, so I just wanted to share something with the district and also the superintendent to provide an opportunity within our schools. We were talking in our collaboration the other day, and we were discussing rating systems, and we were talking about property values, and we were bringing up those kind of issues. And one of the things that was brought up in our department meeting was how parents and community members and potential household buyers around the local region oftentimes check school sites or websites, and they don't necessarily go straight to the dashboard. One that was brought up to mind, and I've been looking at it right now, is greatschools.org. And looking over their information, it's woefully outdated. It's using data that's completely incorrect, out of line with what we do, current practices at River City High School. They rated us as below average for the state of California in AP courses, and that is the furthest thing from River City High School. We have tons and tons of courses for our students to select from. And I think this is an opportunity for the district to really redirect those misinformation places, or people who are looking at this kind of information and thinking that we're not a great place to be, because I think River City is a wonderful place and I love being a part of it. And I would definitely want to see that fixed. And I definitely see it as an opportunity for the district to make a change. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciated. I believe that is it for the public comments. So we are moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Is Sarah back on the phone?
Not yet. President Wong, we do have revisions to
Oh.
the consent agenda items
Right.
H.3 and H.4. We've had some personnel changes, and so those revisions are there for you, and hard copies are here for the public.
Do you need me to
Do we need to
remove
amend
my motion and make a substitute motion to?
With the
these?
revisions,
Yeah.
we request that the approval be made with the revisions of H.3 and H.4.
Okay, so I will remove my motion and amend
Go
with
ahead,
the
amend it.
revisions to
Okay.
H3 and H4.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can you please let me know when trustee Kirby Gonzalez is on, because I believe that we had to have a voice vote when somebody is on the phone. Thank you.
President Wong, if I may just take a moment. One of the changes on the consent agenda for the certificated recommendations, I'd like to just highlight one, and that is anytime any of our employees receive promotions or career opportunities, we want to celebrate that, because that means we've done our job. Here in Washington Unified, when people promote, that means they have learned well, they have implemented systems and implemented projects that have bettered our district. So at this time, we want to celebrate, is she in the room? Yes. She's actually addressing the students right now and their dress code. If we could just bring her in for just a moment.
It's on record, though, and being recorded.
Yes, so at this time, we just want to celebrate our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Amber Lee, who is now the newly appointed Superintendent of Auburn School District.
Congratulations. That's it. We just wanted to celebrate you. Congratulations. Thank you for
I apologize for my tardiness, but I just had to commend those students for just...
extremely impressive. I'm moving on to item I. At this time, there's no public hearing for this meeting, and I'm moving on to J1, River City High graduation requirements. Dr. Parsons. home of the Raiders, I'm told.
Good evening, President Wong, Board of Trustees, Cabinet and Community. Obviously, Principal Moisage does not need any introduction, but Mr. Moisage? But I did want to just preface this presentation that he's going to give tonight. He's going to talk about recommending to the board to raise the graduation requirements for River City High School. The process he is going to cover for you tonight with his staff, as well as describe why that is. But I do want to preface it by, I've been around 4x4s for the last 15 years. I've never seen a school on a 4x4 with 220. When I was principal, it was 270, because it offers a lot of opportunities for kids as far as college and career pathways, college and career readiness, and aligning more closely for A through G requirements. So I highly support the staff at River City High School and this recommendation. So I'll turn it over to Principal Moisage.
Thank you, everybody. How are you tonight? Great.
So just so you know, the joke is that last night at a graduation event, I did say, call out River City Pirates.
Yes.
Versus Raiders. So I apologize publicly and on record.
I've been thinking a lot about that, but you know what? It was on the other side of the river, so it goes okay. So as long as you're on this side of the river, we say Raiders, we're fine. We're good to go. So thank you again, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about our graduation requirements. Currently, they are at 220. Obviously, our goal is to develop college and career ready students that are connected citizens of the community. Why raise graduation requirements? What we're looking to do is, of course, prepare for college and career readiness. We believe the rigors of what we're proposing to you tonight will help us do that in a much better way. In addition, that will also increase academic achievement, and it's going to promote A through G increases in our school district. I mean, A through G is a very known measurement of whether kids are college and career ready. Our district has been improving in this area, as you've been presented other data over the years, and as you know, that's something we've been gradually improving, and we think that trajectory can keep growing. We believe our graduation requirements that we're wanting to change and increase will help us do that in a better way, and I'll explain that in a second. Just to give you a little timeline of the graduation requirements, this debate existed before my arrival at River City High School, so this is not something brand new, so you should all be aware of that. It's something that staff members, even when I was a vice principal many years ago at River City High School, they'd already gone on the 4x4 track, and many of them had wanted to raise graduation requirements at that time. Since then, we as a school, I believe, have really improved our multiple tiered systems of support, and we've gotten a lot better at getting our kids through at graduation, increasing those A through G increases. So as we've been doing that, some of our rigor has been, a lot of our rigor has been raising, and we feel like now is the time to do it. So it's been something that's been talked about for a number of years, is what I want to make sure you understand.
Can I quickly ask a question? And I'm not trying to age you here, but you said when you were a vice principal, how many years back was that these discussions were actually taking place?
I would say at least 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so 10 years. When the high school was built, when the new River City High School was built, that's when they switched to the 4x4 block. So at that time, people had talked about this.
Okay.
So just to kind of go through the process of timeline this year, we started talking about it as a staff around November, and at a staff meeting, we brought this issue out into the open, and approximately 80% of our staff approved an increase in these grad requirements, which is a pretty strong number of how our staff felt about it. In December, I sent an open invitation to our staff to join a grad requirements task force to actually complete that. So that was open to every staff member. And then in February, that task force met for the first time. I'm lucky enough tonight, I also brought a couple of members of that task force. Mr. Colin Malik is here. I believe you all know him. And so he was a member of that task force. Also, I have this year's Secondary Teacher of the Year for Yolo County Office Education, Ms. Corey Sarles. So she's back there too. So both of those folks were members of our task force. And we met probably 4 to 5 hours of time where we went over this, very frank conversations, to be honest with you, very back and forth about some of the pros and cons of these different things that you're looking at tonight. At April 30th is the last time we met where we agreed on the draft that is presented in front of you. In May 6th, which was Monday, I shared this with our department leadership teachers, so they all got to take a look at it as well, and we moved forward from there. And I believe the next slide has the actual proposed and the current requirements that we have. I know that people get very fixated on that number 220. There are other 4x4s that do have 220 as a graduation requirement. And there are some that have higher, as high as 270. We're proposing that we're kind of smack dab in the middle, is what this looks like. But more importantly than the number of credits, I think is what we're asking our students to take. And I think that's where this proposal stands out. This one puts us much closer to what the state A through G requirements are for CSUSs and UC schools. This puts us much closer to that. Doesn't put us exactly there, but it puts us much closer there. So that I believe is a very important part of this as well.
So before we take board comments, there is a public comment. Can I invite Don Stauffer up?
Also, President Wong, while Mr. Stauffer comes up, we have Trustee Kirby Gonzalez now online.
Thank you. Greetings, Sarah from Occidental.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Hello again. And this is in regard to Kobe's question. So I was at this school, since I've been there longer than the current principal. So when in 2008, as the new high school was finishing construction, the proposal was made to go to a 4x4 schedule. And that went back and forth quite a bit with the staff. And one of the assurances we had as we voted in favor of going to a 4x4 schedule, one of the assurances we had from the assistant superintendent at that time was that we would then take a hard look at increasing the number of units required for graduation. That conversation kept being put off until this year. So those of us who've been around a while, we're very happy to see this come forward. Thank you.
Great. So I have a couple of questions, but we'll let my colleagues go first. Clerk Jackson?
I know there's several schools in the area that at one time either were on 4x4 blocks or currently still are on 4x4 blocks, particularly in Elk Grove. And just in that light, how do the proposed changes compare to the requirements down there?
So we're right in the middle. We're right in the middle, honestly. So there are some, without naming high schools, we did look, our task force actually did some research, and we took a lot of the high schools in the area that are 4x4s and compared what their graduation requirements look like compared to our current ones. There are still some 4x4s that have 220 that I believe are fine high schools. There are some high schools that have as high as 270 that I believe don't maybe do some of the things that I would like them to do. You know, in the end, it's about what our students are taking and how well they're learning it. That's always going to be the key issue. For us, we're really, I really would ask you to really concentrate on the things that we're asking the kids to take that is very aligned to A through G and not just the total number.
Correct, and then, which, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was my next question. So the requirements aren't necessarily fully in line with A through G?
I could explain that.
Okay, yeah, please.
Okay, so, the board policy, our board policy for grading for grades 9 through 12 allows for Ds. And so, so a student can get a D and still get credit.
Right.
Correct.
However, in A through G, you have to be C or better. That's just kind of one aspect there. So that right away, that, you know, of course, we want our kids to get C's or better, but by the current board policy, they don't necessarily have to get credits.
Nice.
Vice President Pizzotti?
Yeah, so, you know, 220 was where we were from the 4x4, and we are now going to 250, say that's smack dab in the middle. However, Dr. Parsons said that 270 was the lowest that he's seen in a 4x4 track. Can you explain to me, the differences in between 270 and 250, and why are we choosing the lower end instead of the higher end?
Well, if we, there's a few things there. There are, for example, there are schools that are, not all the schools are at 270. That might have been his experience at his high school,
yeah.
but most of our schools are not at 270 and 4x4 schools in the Sacramento area. As far as why not go to 270, I mean, again, I think it's more, I've looked at some of the schools that are higher than ours. They don't necessarily have the same A through G requirement, or getting closer to A through G that we're trying to do. At the same time, I think, as kids don't get a C or better, we may be asking kids to take classes over again. And, there may be some repeating that's going on. And I think in our district, we still want to give kids opportunities to take lots of classes. One of the strengths, I believe, of our high school is the CTE pathways that kids can enjoy, the visual and performing arts that kids can take. They have a lot of opportunities to take a lot of classes. Some students come into high school and they struggle. Some of our ninth graders really struggle. Our idea is not to punish them because they struggled in ninth grade. A lot of students develop quite a bit after they get through their junior and senior year. I have some students now that are excellent students as a junior and senior. They weren't quite that when they were freshmen and sophomores. Somewhere around halfway through 10th grade, they started turning around. We don't want to punish those students for having those struggles. We want to make sure that they have an opportunity to go all the way through and A through G, and have a chance to be A through G, but at the same time, take those really important programs that, for some kids, that's what keeps them in school. And I think that's a strength of our school, and we don't want to give that up. But there certainly are. That was part of our many teachers. There are teachers who feel the same way as you do. That was something we definitely talked about that number.
Thank you.
I didn't answer Mr. Jackson's question all the way. I kind of went on, so I wanted to kind of add another piece. To be A through G completely, you also need to get through integrated 3 in our curriculum. We've actually, up to this point this year, you needed to get to at least to integrated 1 math to graduate with the diploma. We're upping that to needing to get to integrated 2. I think that's one of the differences that's highlighted in your executive summary there in front of you. Students will now have to get through integrated 2. But to be A through G, they would have to actually get through integrated 3.
So, I mean, in all honesty, my personal preference would be to make sure they have our graduation requirements to be consistent and aligned with the A through G requirements, because ultimately, like I tell the kids at my school, as I hand them their A through G requirements as they go off to high school, is that if they follow that blueprint, they're pretty much guaranteeing themselves acceptance into almost any college they want to apply to, simply by following those A through G requirements. So, I mean, for me, my preference would be to go ahead and have those requirements, our graduation requirements, be fully aligned with the A through G requirements.
So I understand that, and I can tell you, just as a parent, that's certainly what I advocate for my own children, and that's part of why we want to get closer to A through G. We do have students that would have difficulty doing that, and I'm still looking, researching. It may be a little bit of a stretch to get all the way through integrated 3. And so that's kind of some of the research. That was a big part of the debate. That we talked, a big part of our debate was whether to increase from integrated 1 to 2. And there are a number of staff members who are very concerned that jumping that high might actually knock some students out of where we want them to go, which is we at least want them to graduate. And there is a concern that getting through integrated 3 could be very tough. I have some good news for you, though. This is what we're recommending. This is what the pathway we set our students when they get to us as a freshman. That what you just said, that is exactly what we're trying to get them to do. We are really proud of some of that work. For next school year, the junior class for next school year, that means the graduating class of, was that 2021? Over half of them have signed up for math classes beyond integrated 3. which is the first time that I know that's happened at River City High School. So as a high school, we are also philosophically in agreement, but I think if we set that as a hard requirement, we could be facing some difficulties with a portion of our population. And, that's not what we're intending to do. In the end, we're intending to get them to a very good place where they're career and college ready, not to punish them. There was a lot of talk about what you just said. And we as a group felt integrated 2 was an increase, and overall, this is an increase.
Trustee Alcala?
Thank you. You sort of answered one of the questions I had. If they take it over again, would that be not only during the school year, but would that be during summer school as well?
Correct. So we do have summer school now in the district. I think that was a good decision, and that allows us to recapture some of the students that might have fallen behind. We also have credit recovery available for students as well. So those are things that are kind of credit recovery is a very brand new component for us, and that's for students that may have not passed something that they could take over again.
Okay, so let's say a senior next year gets a D in a class. Would they have an opportunity during the summer to make up that class?
Yes, that's what we'd hope. We would definitely hope that, and we do encourage people to do that. However, truth of the matter is, it's something that can't be forced upon them. And so we've had some difficulties getting some of our students, to be honest with you, we've had some difficulties getting some of our students back to do that. However, we think with some of the higher expectations that our students are coming to us with, as evidenced in some of the different data points that, we've talked about over the last year, we think more students are now thinking A through G is important to them. Our staff is talking about it. So as a whole staff, we're talking to kids from the time they get to campus as a freshman. Hey, we want you to be A through G. If you want this job, you have to get a 4-year degree. To get to this CSUS or UC, you have to have these qualifications. I think we do a lot better job of that than we have in the past, honestly. I think my staff is doing a really wonderful job as a staff of talking that up and really engaging kids and encouraging them. I mean, what I mentioned to you earlier about the students signing up to go past integrated 3 in math is incredible. They don't have to do that. They're doing that because they think that's going to make their application for 4-year colleges that much stronger. So I'm hoping as time goes on that what you are suggesting, that we're going to be more effective at that. But I can tell you our first go around, we still have to do a lot of work convincing some kids to take something over again that they don't necessarily have to.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. What was the thinking behind eliminating community service? I'm a big proponent of civic engagement, but why are we eliminating service learning or community services?
Well, we talked about that as well, obviously, and a big part of that is we're not sure we were hitting the mark with improving civic awareness and community involvement with this. So what this became, and this was a well-intentioned item that has been around the district for many, many years. I wouldn't be able to tell you how long. However, in some cases, it started becoming a compliance issue for kids. Kids were doing it out of compliance, not because of love of community or civic activeness.
So is that a problem with implementing or a problem with?
Well, I think we had to create a whole bureaucracy just to put it together. And I don't think that bureaucracy was very successful. But I don't know, I wouldn't say it's a problem with implementing because it's also an equity issue because some people have a better means of getting out of the way those requirements are written. You're supposed to go away from the school and you have to go to different places. Not every student has the same means to go volunteer at different places. So to us, it started looking like an equity issue as well.
Could a proposal have been doing community service on campus?
We talked about that. We started.
I mean, there are different ways, right?
It could be, but it started. We talked about that, but some staff were very concerned that was going to get very convoluted, and we were really defeating the purpose of what you talked about, which is civic awareness. We think that the way to do that is probably to be more explicit throughout our school in those expectations, and not just assigning something that might not be relevant to what the student is typically doing on a school day, but just doing so they can comply with something.
Listen, I went to high school that required it, and yes, it's a compliance issue, but it also got me into places where I volunteered for the elderly or read to the elderly, whether or not I wanted to. You have to
Understood.
learn something different,
And-
right?
and-
So at some point it
Understood.
does, but you expose them to something else. I don't know if other people have.
No, I understood, but we're hoping that we can do some of that. I'm hoping that students will take that through clubs as well, through their participation in some of our clubs, and some of that awareness will come through those areas as well.
I just wanted to make a comment. I know when I've attended the Concilio Awards, a lot of the kids could not do community service because some actually are children of farm workers. They go and work with their dads, during the summers out as farm workers, and yet they've been accepted to university. I know that the colleges look at everything, on resumes, everything from grades to backgrounds, and yes, community service, but they do look at a lot of those other things. I just wanted to mention that.
And we were going to put something in there in addition. This wouldn't be a requirement, but we were going to have another part that would encourage them to do community service. We've looked at some other schools, and some of the things they have are like different incentives, like students we have certain special recognitions because of the community service that they do. So we would still have those included in our program.
Right, but for me, it's really about civic learning and civic engagement, and for young people who need to work with their migrant families, maybe you have a waiver process. I'm not at the place where I'm wanting to give up just like that. Maybe others will, I'm only one person, but I hear you, and so I just want to push back a little bit on, this is an important piece of student life and student learning.
I understand.
And a part of West Sac,
I
giving
understand.
back to West Sac.
I understand. I would caution you about a waiver process. We've had waiver processes in different decisions, and the implementation doesn't become very clear and consistent. And so I would caution you as you think about this for that.
The other thing I have, does Sarah have a question? Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, you have a question?
Sure. Well, I'd like to, I appreciate the questions that have already been asked, and I do understand the piece of community service that President Wong is speaking to, because I, like her, remember my community service as I coached softball and had requirements there that were very meaningful. But I've also seen, I'm on the board of a nonprofit, and I've seen how parents will reach out and say, my child needs some community service, and we reach out to them, and I completely understand how sometimes that community service is not always relevant, or it's parents setting it up for kids, and it's not necessarily always the engagement that I think the goal is. I certainly, right when I saw that, though, did think of all the organizations that really rely on and appreciate that help and connection and helping get kids connected to civic learning. But there are other ways to do it, of course, in the classrooms, and I do it in my classroom, and I know many of our teachers do. So there are ways to have this engagement and community service happening. I understand the concerns that she brought up. With that said, I'm comfortable moving forward with this item in terms of all the comments that were made by the staff and all the work that they did to go through these, and I'm supportive going through it. It's a little hard to communicate over the phone. So
It is. Welcome to my life, often. Welcome to my life, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez. So the other question is, I just want to make sure that I'm reading this correctly. The proposal is for 20 credits of lab science, but 30 credits recommended.
Correct.
Okay, so you want 30 credits of lab science.
20 is the official. That's what they have to do to graduate. However, we're telling kids that you should take 30 to help if you're wanting to apply.
So it leads into our capacity. We have the capacity to do 30 lab sciences, 3 years of lab science for all kids.
For all kids, I think we'd have to really look at that to see how that would work for all kids. But we still recommend, that's our recommendation, that kids approach that.
Right, so, but if we adopt this, that all kids would have to have 3 years of lab science?
They only need 2.
Years. Okay, got you. Okay, 2 years of lab science. But do we have to look at 2 years of lab science? We have capacity for 2 full years of lab science?
Do we have capacity? Yes. We currently have been doing that, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, this was just for discussion, and so, okay, I don't know, there wasn't a question about directions, so.
All right, well, thank you all for listening to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so moving on to, there are no action items for this meeting. They're under board governance, so we are moving on to L1, and there is a public comment. Shall we take it before or after the resolution, sir?
Probably before, I
Okay,
would say.
so Ms. Domick? Okay.
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity to address you tonight. My name is Anna Domick, and I'm a Stonegate mom. I have 2 kids, and they are in kindergarten and 3rd grade. As their mother, their safety at school is my top priority. As a member of this community, the safety of all of our West Sacramento students is equally important. That's why it's such a big deal that the Washington Unified School Board is issuing this proclamation to prioritize school safety and to raise awareness about the horrors of gun violence. Gun violence can happen anywhere, in a school, like the recent shooting in Colorado, or for a law enforcement officer shot while making an otherwise routine traffic stop. The commonality here is that people had guns who should not have had access to them. The group I'm affiliated with, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, believes that we can do better. We can spread the word about evidence-based ways to reduce gun violence, like the gun violence restraining order that allows law enforcement to remove guns from people credibly deemed a threat to themselves or others. Other school districts and communities have had success in removing weapons from those who are dangerous. We can spread information about the Be Smart campaign for safe gun storage that encourages people to lock up firearms away from vulnerable children or others who may use them accidentally or inappropriately. Yolo County moms are working to advocate and educate locally, statewide, and at the federal level on these issues. And these efforts are starting to pay off. Just today, we found out that Governor Newsom has proposed spending $27 million, increasing from $9 million last year, on local gun violence intervention programs. The money will be spent for grants at the local level in communities where it has been shown to have the greatest effect. Finally, we can honor the memory of those lost to gun violence, as well as survivors, by wearing orange on June 7th. I will be wearing orange and encourage others to do the same. Thank you to School Board member Kirby Gonzalez for bringing this resolution forward. I am proud to send my kids to school in a district that takes their safety so seriously.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Ali Budens, and while my son is only 3 and does not have the privilege to attend your schools yet, we are very much looking forward to the day that he does. And I just wanted to come up here and say thank you on behalf of Moms Demand Action, both the Yolo County chapter and the state chapter. Sometimes this work can be really hard, and it can feel really challenging, like you're drudging through mud. And sometimes you have those sad reminders that we haven't made it as far as we need to. But today wasn't that day. Today was a win with the governor's budget announcement and with this proclamation. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you. Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, since you're on the phone, did you want to present, or we have a volunteer here to present?
Yes, thank you. It's a little hard to hear, so I apologize if it comes through, or if you need to stop me if you need to. But I believe it was April 11th that I had asked for this resolution to come forward, and since then we had the shooting at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte, and also then the shooting at the Colorado STEM school. And as somebody who sat down with kids, hunched down, crouched down, with the windows closed, having them be quiet, because an active shooter drill has come over the loudspeaker, and looking at them, knowing that we need to do something, that this is not okay. And I appreciate the work that Moms Demand Action do, and I think that we have an obligation to do our part, which we're doing in Washington Unified. We have our safety committee right now. We've also come in and looked at our school sites and hired our outside group to come in and help us with our school safety plans. So I feel like, we're doing some good work. But it's important that we look at all aspects of this problem and that we stand up for our kids and protect them. And I think that this resolution is a step forward with that, and to have a commitment that we will advocate for gun safety and to bring awareness to this day. So I appreciate President Wong's and Superintendent Luna for putting on the agenda, and thanks.
Okay. I know that at least one board member has some comments before we read the resolution. Are there others who I should be aware of? Vice President Pizzotti, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I really want to thank all the work that the Moms Demand Action does, and their advocacy for the funding in the state budget has really actually given me hope, because it's really frustrating when you post something on the discussion board that seems so simple about advocating for school safety and how mental health, and you at least you can think we can all agree that school shootings is a problem and mental health is a problem, and we should be doing more. But the pushback that I got, really, it broke my heart. It really did. And some people just, they're so attached to their weapons that for some reason they think that it's okay to have other people suffer and die, and without funding any mental health programs or without doing anything to attack the root cause of some of these shootings. And it really broke me down for a little bit. But then one of our recent graduates from River City High commented on the post, and I want to read it. And I asked her permission to read it. And she goes, "Mr. Pizzotti, I understand how upset you must feel, because as someone who only recently graduated high school and as someone who still has a handful of friends at River City, I am terrified. Columbine happened the year I was born. I was 7 when Virginia Tech happened. I was 13 when Sandy Hook happened. I can't walk into a movie theater or watch The Dark Knight without thinking about the Aurora shooting. This problem has impacted the lives of millions of people across this country. It's a difficult problem to talk about because there are so many little things that are causing this. Lack of gun safety in the country, the accidental or absolute selling of firearms to those who are unfit to own one, the lack of mental health education, problems at home, the list goes on. And I am in no way qualified to blame any one of these issues. But we can't give up hope, because as you and many others have pointed out, kids are dying. The kids are not all right. And in a way, I can understand how difficult of a problem this must be for the government and similar school boards alike. But giving up isn't the answer. There are probably hundreds of answers to this problem. But to not try any of them is a crime worse than what we are facing. It is, however, nice to see progress that is being made. The swift action taken by New Zealand after Christchurch was refreshing to see, even if their laws have no effect on us. And just recently, a House Appropriations Committee decided to pour $50 million into research conducted by the CDC and the NIH on the gun epidemic and how to save lives. We're getting there. Just keep trying. Doing nothing is not the answer. I just wanted to say that that girl just tore me apart and made me so proud to see that somebody, we graduated from River City High School cares so deeply and has been so touched by this that she, after graduating, decided to write and comment. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. And thank you always for your advocacy. As Trustee Kirby-Gonzalez said, we've taken a lot of action and a lot of leadership here. We take it seriously with our Safety Manager and Safety Committee. So know that you are heard always at this boardroom and in this space. Trustee Kirby-Gonzalez, would you like to read, or would you like somebody in the chambers to read the resolution?
Honestly, I'm gonna start crying, and I'm having a hard time holding it together with this piece. I would love and appreciate if the board colleague would read this.
Okay, do we have a volunteer?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I would. Vice President Pizzotti?
Yeah. This proclamation declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Washington Unified School District to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Whereas every day, 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average, there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income developed countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the district's highest responsibility. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people with dangerous histories. And whereas, oh man, shoot. Hang on a second. And whereas in January 2013, Hadiah Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later, should be now celebrating her 22nd birthday. And whereas to help honor Hadiah and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 7th, 2019, the first Friday in June, as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadiah's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June in 2019, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas by wearing orange on June 7th, 2019, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Washington Unified School Board declares the first Friday in June, June 7th, 2019, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. We encourage all schools to support their local communities' efforts to prevent the tragic offense of gun violence and to honor and value human lives.
Thank you for that. This has to be a voice vote because Trustee Kirby-Gonzalez is on the phone. So I will start with Trustee Alcala.
Aye.
Trustee Jackson.
Aye.
Trustee Kirby-Gonzalez.
Aye.
Vice President Pizzotti.
Aye.
And I too vote aye, and passes unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations. All right, we are moving on to L2, quarterly updates of board policy and administrative regulations series 5,000 students.
Good evening again, and I must admit, I do wish that this item was before the resolution. Going
Apologize for
from-
how we agendized it.
It's totally okay.
That's how we set you up.
So these are the regular quarterly updates for CSBA. There were no 6,000 series updates. There were only a few 5,000 updates. And so I'll quickly go over them for you. Starting with Board Policy 5117, that's interdistrict attendance. There were two options here. We are recommending option 1 because it more closely aligns current practice. Option 2 is not usually the direction that our district has taken, but it is up to the board that we become, it will make us a school district of choice, which means that the school board and the superintendent determine how many students we can take, and then we live with that number instead of just allowing students and district to district to work with each other on a case-by-case basis. AR 5117 is the companion to the first board policy. So, of course, it's option 1 again, which has language cleanup to it, as did the previous board policy. And it discusses the process for interdistrict transfers, which is our current practice. Next, we have Administrative Regulation 5125.2. It's withholding grades, diploma, and transcripts. And basically, it's language cleanup and language for withholding grades, diplomas, and/or transcripts, such as voluntary work in lieu of monetary damage. So previously, if you owe money, you wait for them to pay the money so you can give them their diploma. And this is just saying that you can also set up a work schedule so they can go clean up the campus or things like that instead of paying the monetary damages. And a BP 5127 is graduation ceremonies and activities. It was mostly language cleanup, but it also talks about denying participation in graduation ceremony. And what that means is we all know that getting a diploma is our responsibility if they have the appropriate units, and graduation ceremonies are optional. And so we do take behavioral concerns and things like that into consideration. I'm choosing option 1 for this, educational services, that discusses that invocations, prayers, and benedictions are not to be included in graduation ceremonies.
The only reason we're having a side conversation a little bit here is that Vice President Pizzotti and I, we thought we had passed all these with these options already like a year ago. And so
In our
governance committee, when we went through these the first time, are these just updates from CSBA?
These are updates from CSBA, yes.
'Cause these are
More recent than that.
And so we got them in March.
Because we had this conversation before about benedictions and graduation.
And I remember that as well.
Yes, correct. So that's why you're seeing a little bit of confusion,
And-
because we actually had already adopted these things that you were suggesting.
Gotcha.
Trustees, I would just add that usually when we have quarterly updates, it just usually is like a minor change to the law or to any kind of form of legislation. Generally, we will not change language dramatically based on the initial passing of policies and regulations that the board has recently done.
Yes.
So these kind of updates usually have a legislation that may have been updated or maybe a law.
So, correct, you're seeing my confusion because the options were options we had already chosen, and we just really want to know what the update is.
And these were the updates in the board policy, in the ones that I received from CSBA. Though I do understand, and I can check on that.
Because you remember the conversation about attire and
Yes, I do.
prayers, yeah.
Yes, I do. And I can check on that for you.
So I think where we're going with it is like, how does this
What's
update
new?
vary from what we passed? And that's why it's like,
That's why you're seeing we went through this, what is the actual new language?
And I will have to get back to you on that. I apologize because I just get these in my email and then I go
no
through
worries.
them and.
So it'd be good to cross-reference with existing things that we've passed already, see
Okay.
what the update is to what we actually passed versus
Abs-
just quid pro quo passing them.
So
Absolutely.
if I may also bring to the board's attention, the supporting document is uploaded as a supporting document with the track changes. And so in the track changes, you see highlights. You also see strikeouts where language a lot of times is taken out. So for instance, on fees and charges, CSBA has taken out, even though it is an education code, the language of any family whose child is receiving childcare on the basis of being risk of abuse, neglect, or exploitation may be exempt from these fees for up to 3 months. So basically what CSBA is doing is striking out language that is no longer needed because of laws and changes. And those are in your supporting documents.
Yes, understood, but the option, I'm just going back to we actually had the conversation about benediction, and again, going back to validating Vice President Pizzotti's, is what are the actual changes? Is it just the strikeouts,
From our current language that we had,
The most important part to look at is the language cleanup, okay, on anything I bring, actually, because language cleanup is
It's in
changed
bold.
because of legislation.
right, and that's in bold.
Yes, I don't have it in front of me, sorry.
Okay, I get it.
But I do understand the board's confusion, and
I
I do want
suspect
to
it's
look
in
into
bold.
that.
Yeah, it's in bold.
Thanks.
If the transfer, okay. Yeah.
Anyways, it's just
I don't have a
duplicative
problem with that.
decisions.
That's fine.
Yeah, I understand what you're doing, but it's, you're seeing the confusion because we had passed some of these, we had made decisions on some of the options already.
Absolutely.
And so the new language is what you should be bringing to us because we've already kind of chosen a pathway. And again, it's the graduation requirement and the tire that I distinctly remembering having a robust conversation on.
Yeah.
It's just why we're bringing it up. What is the actual thing that we are changing?
And I'm looking at this, and I actually, I think I recognize the language that we
Correct.
adopted in here.
Correct.
That is only making minor changes. So I can't remember what the exact language
We
said.
passed a lot of.
No, I think that.
We passed a bunch of them. So, but what I do see on here is that this does seem like minor changes, but I can't tell if it's the exact language from what we had prior to. And personally, the way some of this reads, it seems to be fine by me. I don't know about everybody else, but it seems to be fine with.
And I do understand the board's confusion, and I would like to explore that a little bit and get back to you on that.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
President Wong?
Yep, please, go ahead, trustee.
So I'm on the agenda right now. It is posted online, and the policies that we had updated and approved last time, and it looks to me to be in line with those conversations, specifically the pieces that you brought up that were quite a conversation, which was, any sites of religion in our graduation, as well as a couple other things that were
Correct.
that were talked about at length, seem to be reflected in both.
Again, I appreciate that, and so only because we also tweaked a little bit to meet our community's needs. That's why, especially around graduation, it makes me a little bit. Did we do the homework to pull up our graduation to make sure that we're not losing something that we as trustees added in because we're adopting CSBA language?
Sure, that's what I'm going through now. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do it. We could sit here and wait, or we could come back. I don't know if it's urgent that we adopt them right now.
It really isn't. I'd like to
Yeah.
explore it a little bit for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we will not be voting on this because you're exploring it.
I am fine with that. There's no time frame for this.
Okay.
Trustee Alcala, did you have a comment?
No, I was just going to
Okay.
say, let's come back to it.
Just for clarity, so when we come back with these particular policies, perhaps what we want to ensure the board is that we we bring back the ones that you've already adopted with these particular CSBA strikeouts.
Correct.
So it may not be in the next meeting. It's going to be pretty labor-intensive for our staff to go through that.
Well,
But we will bring them back.
Not
for
the
sure.
strikeouts necessarily, just not only the strikeouts, but the additions.
Yeah, we will
'Cause these
highlight
are-
all of that.
Well,
yes.
you've got the strikeouts and additions in here. I guess what my confusion is whether or not this language that you have right here is our adopted language from past.
Exactly. I understand what your concerns
So
are.
I don't think the labor will be that labor intensive. All you have to do is just look at the last document that we.
Absolutely.
Online.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And this also goes into what the direction of Superintendent Luna. Next year, we're going through all policies, creating them so it's much more transparent for our public to find policies and administrative regulations as well. So I will bring this back to the board after I investigate a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, so taking that off. We are moving on to board and superintendent comments. Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, I call on you to see if you have any board updates.
Sure. Yes, thank you. I want to just first acknowledge how grateful I am to be to serve on a school board where we can pass a resolution declaring National Gun Violence Awareness Day and have that passed unanimously. So I want to thank my board colleagues, and I want to let you know how proud I am to serve with you all. I don't have any committee updates. I did want to share, and President Wong might touch on this more, that we did meet again with some students from the high school discussing some of the equity work. And I didn't bring this up when we had the high school conversation just earlier, but some of the students did tell us that they wanted to have more requirements. They wanted to have more rigor with their classes and what it meant to graduate, which I appreciated coming directly from them. They also talked a lot about the importance of relationships with their teachers. And it is pretty incredible that even our youngest children, our preschool kids, our TK kids, all the way up into our seniors, care about the relationships that they have with the people who are there with at school every single day. And the people that they really talked about that and highlighted were the people who not only challenged them and pushed them and really gave them a strong education, but also just who really showed that they cared about them and asked how they were doing. And it was an important reminder to hear that from them. And I appreciated those conversations, and I'm looking forward to our board governance meeting when we can go further into that policy work and what does our equity statement look like and what does a plan look like, and so we can all be on the same page as a board and craft that together. And that is all I have. And just for the public to know, I am at science camp right now, so I apologize that I'm not there in person. I'd love to be there in person, but I'm also a big believer in outdoor ed, and I'm happy to be here with my own students, but I'm so proud of Washington Unified for paying for our kids to go to science camp, because as I'm here, there are other schools that have said that they have had to, that they either cannot come or they worry about bringing their students, all because of money. And I know that we've had that same issue in our district years ago, and I'm so glad that we are committed to all of our kids and sending them here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Alcala?
Thank you. Last week, I spoke at the state capitol on SB 291, which is Senator Connie Leva's bill, to provide more financial aid based on need to community college students. This would definitely improve college access as well as graduation rates. And what I'm really proud to say is that Danny Theracool, who is a graduate of River City High School and is now a Los Rios student trustee, organized this rally. And it was wonderful seeing all the community college students out there. So thank you to everyone who went. Also, I want to say, Amber Lee, we are going to miss you so much in this district. You have had such a profound impact on the kids and families here. You know, I'm so happy for you. I know we all are, because this is a big promotion for you, but it's a big loss here for our district. May revise. We're going to get more money, so I just hope that maybe with some of the money that's coming in, maybe we can reinstate some of the folks that we had to let go. And I also wanted to make this very quick and just ask for a moment of silence for the young heroes that died trying to save the lives of their classmates at UNC and at Colorado High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Alcala. Clerk Jackson.
Well, first, I want to go ahead and give a sincere and firm congratulations and attaboys to the young men and ladies that were here when I first walked in, giving their presentation. You can always tell a good presentation when you're able to walk in the middle of it and kind of get an idea of exactly what's going on. Those kids did an absolutely fantastic job. Their arguments were on point, very, very well researched, very well thought out, and I was impressed at the job that those students did. So congratulations to their parents, to their teachers, in their preparation. You should definitely be proud, and I am proud to say that, to know that those are the kind of students that we have in our district. And on top of that, I think that's even more of an important reason to do what Mr. Malik said earlier, and making sure that we have accurate and up-to-date information about our schools that's out there, because a lot of that information, things that people go to when they look at, like he's an example he gave, them buying houses and homes and deciding where they're going to move. They do look at that, at the quality of the schools. And if that information is outdated, as I believe that it is, because I think I've seen it, it does not reflect the learning and the education that's taken place in this district. And if those kids weren't an example of that, I don't know what to tell you. So hopefully we can get the things done and the information out there that we need to make sure that the status and the progress of our district is out there as much as readily possible, so that most accurate information is available to the public. And I had one other thing, and I just forgot, lost my train of thought. Happens when you get old.
We will wait for your moment.
Yeah, don't do that, because that might take a minute. But, shoot, I forget what my other point was. And also, I would also like to extend my congratulations to Ms. Lee. Congratulations. I would concur with Trustee Alcala. It's a huge, Auburn's gain is definitely our loss. In the short time that I've had to work with you and interact with you, I've been very impressed with your passion and dedication, not only to the community, but also to the students of this community. And I feel sorry for the person who has to fill your shoes, because they're going to be big shoes to try and fill.
Mm-hmm.
But congratulations on and much success in your new endeavors. And I still don't remember, so I guess I'm done.
That wasn't it?
Okay.
Oh,
No,
okay,
that wasn't
that
it.
wasn't it.
There was something else. I forgot what it was.
Well, Vice President Pizzotti?
I'd just like to piggyback on what Trustee Jackson and Alcala said about Amber Lee. When I was called for the reference on Assistant Superintendent Lee, I did my very best to try and sabotage that as I could. But sadly, the truth came shining through. Her dedication and tireless work really is hard not to spot. And I just wanted to thank you for your time that you've spent here, and the systems that you've put in place, and the drive and the motivation that you have. It's been an asset to us, and we appreciate it. Let's see. I attended Senator Pan's 6th Senate District annual graduation recognition event with President Wong and several other trustees from Twin Rivers and Sac City and Elk Grove Unifieds. Assemblymember Cooley was there and Assemblymember Cooper was there. And what Senator Pan does every year is he takes 2 kids out of a middle school and recognizes them for their accomplishments. And he also does the same with the high schools in the 6th Senate District. So I just wanted to read off our kids, because our kids, I think, deserve some recognition. From Bridgeway Island, Douglas Wu and Ben Cooper. From Riverbank Elementary, Lima Nasiri and Yulia Grabiniak, yeah. From Southport Elementary, Wesley Wu and Caleb Morgan. From Stonegate Elementary, Ofa Pu'ui and Mario Arzola. And from Westmore Oaks, Chitalali Rodriguez Tafoya and Faisal Ariyai. Is that how you pronounce it? Good enough, right? Good enough. From River City High School, Lauren De La Rosa and Tyler Alexander. From Washington Middle College, Hayara Vasquez and Gloria Ramirez Baca. And from Yolo High School, Juliana Tellez and Abriana Frigio. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out because, our students, while they may put in such hard work in school, you can't always single them out. But when Senator Pan did this, I think it was just a great job to give students that really worked hard and dedicated so much time to their schooling that we should at least do the same here. And I want to thank my colleague, President Wong, for being there as well. And then I attended the 2x2, was it April 30th, I think? Yeah, April 30th. And we discussed the data sharing program protocols with the Kids Home Run program. So with that, I think I'm done. And thank you again for showing up and doing all that you did to help drum up some additional money in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to first start off on thank you to our teachers. It was Teacher Appreciation Week this week, and we have great students because we have great teachers as well as staff otherwise, but this is Teacher Appreciation Week, so I think it's really great to be able to acknowledge their hard work, because even after graduation, everything that we've been sharing about students, it's because of them and it's because of you that they become great human beings, right? So thank you for all you do every single day, every single night, every single weekend during the summer, because I know that our students live in the hearts and minds of you always. So I wanted to start off with that. Also wanted to acknowledge Assistant Superintendent Lee, who I can't see because you're not in your heels. I had the privilege and opportunity to talk to the school board members from Auburn, and they are, we did really try to sabotage you, and it really didn't work. But no, really, we are really blessed to have been graced with everything that you put together for us, and we hope to just kind of live on all the investments that you've helped us make in students and putting them first, by name and by need, right? What I will miss is all the acronyms that are created that have very pitchy and pithy things, so please do come back and help rename some of our programs so they have a good marketing ring to them. So thank you for all that you do, and look forward, we have a couple more weeks with you. You're welcome. Also wanted to update a little bit about the importance to me of the 2x2 and the really robust data MOU is that I think it was a real kind of back and forth. The first thing that came to us was not really that clear and that secure from my mind. We had them go back and had a much more robust, we created a much more robust data agreement that where we could actually, we have to get those questions about what is happening with the West Sac Home Run project, this, that, the other, and we can actually now, with that agreement, have a sense of the successes that we are going to be making with that. Granted, it's going to be over the course of several years, but really, I think that, you know, I was a supporter of Measure E, and I think it's right and good to actually have those conversations and have the information that the public just wants about the successes that we're making with the investments that we're making with the West Sac Home Run project. We also just put on the agenda this the concept of opportunity zones. West Sac has a few areas that were deemed by the federal government to be opportunity zones where investors can actually come in and create economic, benefit. I appreciate the fact that, Mayor Baldwin was very clear about not wanting to gentrify the opportunity zones in these places, but what does that look like for us, and are there things, and, kind of top of mind, I was thinking it would be great if we got a private investor to have a visual arts program, like those types of things. We can think creatively of like trying to bring people into the community through this opportunity, this business zone. Opportunity that will sunset in a couple of years, but just kind of think creatively with our partnerships and what that looks like with the city, right? Things that we as a school district may not be able to do, but actually leverage our partnerships. I was also have been engaged in a conversation since our county 2x2. Actually, the other thing is that you guys may have heard of this concept of Genius Village that was brought up at the State of the State, where Trustee Jackson, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, and I were able to be celebrated for, I think, is this right, the first time ever being acknowledged for progress in our district and all the innovation that we've kind of made over time. And so that was a special moment, though I think that the picture that they took was me with my mouth open. Everybody has a great smile, great stance, took all my tips except for me. So that was really special to be acknowledged for all the hard work that we did at the State of the State. And one of the things, the State of the City, not there, State of the City, State of the West Sacramento, that was mentioned was this concept of Genius Village, empowering parents to have this integrated data set that has both education and health and human services data at the tips of their fingers, and be able to send with a touch of a button, hey, the note from the doctor, here, this is why my kid was sick, right? And then that would be transmitted to us. So this is a long-term investment and project, but I'm super excited about being able to provide that opportunity and that empowerment to parents, so that, again, I don't know if you've worked with public systems a lot, but you go through lots of different doors to get your kids' data, because this system wants to know, validating this system, are you immunized, this, that, the other, and the ability for parents to say, hey, I can just share this, and the public systems are actually going to share that with my permission is pretty amazing. So that is what Genius Village is, and so I know that our staff, thank you so much during this very busy time, are going to be gone next week to talk about what dreaming about that might look like. We are very much on the back end of that, and the front end is more the health and human services and trying to figure out the HIPAA and data around that. Also, I've been in a conversation just because of some of my work with breaking barriers and mental health, because again, you mentioned mental health, and a lot of our students that we've met with over time have actually mentioned the importance of a mental health class, mental health indicators, peer supports, and things like that. I've begun a conversation with some foundations and the Children's Trust, and possibly funding somebody to come in and work with us on developing a school-based children's mental health plan. So that's not necessarily on a dime, but to actually try to figure out what leveraging looks like for, between the county and available resources, right? So following up from the county district 2x2, mental health was really important to us. And so for me, there's an operational aspect to it, just because I've had a long history in doing this work in Alameda County. But being able to bring in the resources and possibly a private funder to say, hey, the thing that we can't do is actually draft a plan. So being able to kind of be part of a plan and a conversation, and more of a regional conversation around that. Because it's important to our community, important to our kids, to our parents, our grandparents. And so I'm excited about what that might look like if we get awarded this grant. And I feel like I've been really blessed these last couple of weeks being surrounded by students, right, with the equity, the Friday meeting after our last board meeting with Trustee Kirby Gonzalez, sitting down with our students who were so, and I was humbled by how excited they were to sit down and talk to us about the things that they wanted to, this is equity. After the first time they talked to us, they went back to their administration and said, well, can you show us the dashboard? Can you show us what's happening? Like we heard that the state is actually holding us accountable to suspensions and expulsions, and really proud of the administration by opening up the dashboard saying, this is what we're doing, and we've improved, right? And to acknowledge that we, all the trustees got a note saying that we're no longer kind of identified of being, inequitable around special education suspensions for African Americans, right? So those types of things, and be able to have, open up that conversation and educate the kids. This is not just our data for us to talk on this dais or in this chamber or even for television, but for them to actively look at, to say, hey, what does this mean? And I know that we recently have the California Healthy Kids Survey that was just released, granted it's a couple of years old, but also empowering the kids with the research and data out there, because they are the experts of what school is like today for them. Right, my joke was that, well, I'm not necessarily the expert. I'm the board president, but the truth is, you actually are going through our system now, and in a very live way what may or may not work for you. Some things that they brought up was, again, mental health was a real relationship building, and kind of deep relationship building, right? Not surface level, and that's what would change the school climate indicators, right? How kids feel on campus. And I think that I'm looking at the moms who actually brought the resolution to us, and that makes a difference. But that came from the words of the kids, and that was that I know Trustee Kirby and Gonzalez and I just had a pause about how articulate they were about this. They wanted to talk about suicide prevention efforts, real, authentic suicide prevention efforts, peer-based, right? Having touchstones throughout the campus. As I mentioned before, mental health classes as a part of curriculum, right? When you were thinking about graduation requirements, embedding it in the health class, they really want to know, what are the signs? Can you just train us all, maybe 9th grade? These are coming from the words of our students, our current students, our juniors and our seniors, right? And just, also, knowing the difference between when a kid's just having a bad day versus being bad. And also vice versa, we had a conversation about knowing when a teacher's having a bad day and that they're allowed to be human, or versus that, them being totally negative. So having that opening up that dialogue between teachers and students in a more, so that everybody understands and kind of builds that relationship. So that was really, I think, a special opportunity for me, along with the Dr. Pan's graduation event yesterday. I'd like to hold myself accountable. Really am ashamed of myself for not remembering that it's the Raiders and not the Pirates, and did not remember that the Washington Middle High School was the Panthers. But I did know Southport were the Ducks. I just have to say that. For some reason, I knew that. Yes, because my kids go to school there, for all of you who know this. And so I also today, just before this board meeting, had the opportunity to meet with the Friday Night Live students who invited me after having met me at the Youth Empowerment Summit, where they were encouraged to hold us accountable, right, Norma? And they said, you're coming back, and we have this list, and we have these presentations. Okay, what am I? It's like the 4 students, right? And these are our freshmen and sophomores in the high school, and they're sitting there going, one was also a senior, where there was a special ed student trying to understand what her IEP meant, why she was felt like she was being, quote unquote, forced into a pathway that she didn't choose at the beginning, and just having her walk through. That's a conversation with your case manager, versus certificate versus diploma, and maybe we could actually be better about how are we actually having the conversations with our special education students about their career path. I felt like I learned so much in 2 weeks just speaking to the students, right? I also, the other things that they, again, this comes up time and time again, is recycling. What happened to the recycling bins and the waste that happens on campus, the styrofoam plates versus paper plates versus, so, again, this is an issue that's really important to them. And why do we only have one filtered system on a campus that large? right? So why do, and it's actually only accessible if you walk through the gym and disturb another group, another class to get to it. So thinking about things that are just practical to them because they feel like this is waste, and it is, right? And they literally said, we all bring our own water bottles, and then we pour them into the water bottles that we bring to school. So that was really, they're very observant, very smart. And the other thing is, I would love to kind of follow up on this, is that I know that we actually were required by law to actually stock bathrooms with feminine products. It's always empty. Are we checking every night? So they're at the beginning of the year, we're fully stocked, right? Legally, we have to, basically we've made an agreement, we're paying for this, we have to pay for this. But they're like, they're now, at this time of year, it's never stocked. So just something to be mindful of. Again, I promised that I would share this with you all. And again, just kind of like, maybe that's just a checklist when you're going through the custodial checklist. And what else is there? Filtered system. They'd like working water fountains without gum on them. So, and I think that's a very fair request. Apparently there are several water fountains on the campus that have gum all over them. And I don't mean to make the light of the subject, but they were just on fire about these things. And so Friday Night Live, for those of you who don't know, they actually have a basis in alcohol and drug prevention. They actually also said, here's the CHKAS data, and do you know 10% of the 8th graders have binge drank? 10% coming in, right? Do you know 51% have had like more than in 11th grade? I'm like, oh wow, okay, you've done your research, just like, and it's impressive of like these young people. And they actually said in their entire, and these young people have been through with us all the way through, and now they're sophomores or juniors or seniors, and they said, why don't we have alcohol and drug prevention classes? And I know that the SROs are supposed to be doing this, but maybe there's a partnership there, but literally in their entire career, they've never had this, that when we've, from my understanding and contract, have this paid for. So maybe that's an opportunity to have the conversation about, hey, like these are young people saying we want the alcohol and drug prevention class, and we're willing to help teach other middle school kids. So what a great opportunity that would be. Again, just on fire about this. And lastly, I can't reiterate the conversation about consistency, right? The kids who presented today were about consistency. Each campus has a different dress code. We need to be consistent about what that is because, again, Trustee Pizzotti and I did pass those dress codes. We're like, well, no, they are gender neutral. Like our board policy is gender neutral. It's actually the implementation on each campus that is not consistent. Right, so if there's somehow to just provide consistency about what that means, I was very compelled by their message as a woman, as this I'm like, it's like, yes, but I was like, Colby, did we actually pass a gender neutral dress code? And that also goes with something that I've actually also talked to Trustee Jackson about, is that parents and kids are feeling that there's inconsistency in middle school about who plays for athletics and what are the rules around there, and is there a waiver process, and there should be a waiver process. So consistency from campus to campus, and how do we create something that prepares them for the CIF standards that they will be forced to adhere to when they are playing sports in high school, but also giving them room for growth. So again, just echoing really just throughout the whole conversations with all the students that we've had is consistent practice, right? Like what across campus, and how does that articulate across, into the high schools that we have? So I know that I normally don't take this much time, but I wanted to share everything that I've learned from the community and the kids that has really just blessed me, and I appreciate them just being open and honest and giving me permission to share their actual concerns, and something I know that Trustee Kirby-Gonzalez and I thought that it would really great as just a general practice to have board members rotate to this group of kids on the high school and elementary schools, just so, and parents too, right? The parents I know that PK had asked for the similar, like just something just to hear. Not that we always have solutions, but to actually hear in a less formal way where we actually can't have a dialogue on the dais in the chambers. But that's it. Sorry, Superintendent Luna, that it took so long, but it's only 5 till 8. You could have buzzed me, because I buzz people, right?
Thank you, President Wong, Board of Trustees. That's okay, because I was taking my notes for my assistant superintendents to follow up on. No, it is on our radar, so thank you so much for sharing that. It sounded like just like one of my student advisory committee meetings, because they really give it to you, and it's important that we hear it. My update tonight is a lot of celebrations, but I would be remiss if I first didn't start with acknowledging our Teacher Appreciation Week and the incredibly hard work that our teachers and certificated staff do every single day that they show up for our students. I also want to thank River City High School staff, because the discussions, anytime you're going to address something as heavy as graduation requirements, it takes a lot of conversation and a lot of thought. And so I want to thank the high school staff for really coming together and really discussing these, and also for the trustees for your questions and for your perspective and your view. And so that's why it probably hasn't been touched for a long time, because it is heavy discussion, and I'm really proud of them for taking that on this year. Trustee Jackson, I want to thank you for your comments also in regards to the progress our district has made. We have to change what people remember of Washington Unified School District, and especially River City High School, because as soon as people step onto that campus, it's a whole new world from the past. And so we will be working on that and getting that accurate information out. I think CSEA is not here tonight because they're probably celebrating. We had negotiations today, and I was hoping that Daniel would make his announcement. But we have a tentative agreement on all articles. And I got to tell you, the work that we do now in labor relations is really wonderful. And even with our new assistant superintendent, Norma Gonzalez, stepping in, conversations have been great, very collaborative, and so we're very excited about that. So with that, I'll start with, I have lots of pictures. There's pictures on everything that's been going on in the district recently and coming up. So at Yolo County Office of Education, the county office held its annual Excellence in Education Awards, and I want to thank President Wong for reading all of the descriptors for each of our award winners, which is really important. And so we want to make sure that we shout these people out. Our Administrator of the Year is our Director of Human Resources, Pam Guyvette. Our Program of the Year is that bookcation that we saw at the beginning of the school year, which is still going. And so people were very, very intrigued in the audience. They're like, what is that? Our Elementary Educator of the Year, Deanna Wasserman, who is next year going to be one of our instructional coaches at one of our schools. Our Secondary Educator of the Year, you saw in our audience here, who was part of the Graduation Requirements Task Force, Corey Sarles. Alternative Educator of the Year, Joey Garza. If you've never seen Joey Garza in action with the students, he looks like one of the students, first of all, but second of all, there's such an immediate connection. He's just a perfect teacher over at Yolo High School, connecting to our students. And our Support Educator of the Year, with me learning how to spell year with Y-E-A-R, is Sue Dwyer-Voss, who is our social worker over at River City High School. And Sue may be placed over at River City, but she has created systems across our district for the social workers and outreach specialists. So shout out to our Educators of the Year for Yolo County.
Nice picture, Jackie.
Yeah, she did a great job speaking. We also had at River City High School, one of the highlights of the year is to always have our community organizations come and generously give to our seniors going to college. And this year, we had about over $57,000 given to college scholarships for our seniors just from our local organizations. That does not include any other kinds of scholarships, doesn't even include the music boosters or anything like that. These are just our local agencies such as Rotarians. The Rotarians gave a lot of money. And so we're really grateful very, very grateful to all of our community agencies. We want to give a shout out to some awards through our State of the City address from Mayor Cabalden. We received 2 honors, one having to do with our district, but one having to do with our employees, and that is to Christy Jordan, who received the Civic Leadership Award for Pride. And it's just not for the city, but we love Christy's voice in our district. She is our biggest advocate for Washington Unified School District, not just for the music programs, but for our entire district. So shout out to Christy Jordan. Also want to congratulate our school district, the Board of Trustees, for our Civic Leadership Award for Progress. And I think the talk in the town is that this is the first time in the history of the city, in the history of our district, to receive an acknowledgement in regards to progress.
As you can see from my shocked face.
Well, actually, because there was just a lot of celebration going on. And I will say this, Trustee Jackson, what you said about we might need to make sure that we have accurate information always out there about our district and our schools, because just the next day after this celebration, I had a community leader come up to me and say, Linda, I heard something's not right between the district and the city. But you see how the inaccurate information is, and so the clarification of quite the contrary. We have received the Civic Leadership Award, and they were stunned. So the more that we talk about our district, our accomplishments, the progress that we have made is what will change how people from the outside look at Washington Unified. We also want to celebrate 3 of our teachers and our certificated staff. The Rotarians gave the Vocational Education and Service Awards this last week. So some of the service awards go, of course, to the firefighters, to Sheriff's Department, to Highway Patrol, to our own West Sacramento Police Department. But really what they focus on and highlight on are our CTE teachers and those who are doing the creative, innovative teaching and programs to address not just college-bound, but also work-bound. So we shout out Anselmo Marin, who was our elementary teacher of the year for Elkhorn, but you've heard Anselmo talk about his CREST program, the STEM program that he has with UC Davis. Cheryl Sutton is no stranger to us, who is our culinary teacher. And then Catherine Kramer is no stranger to us also. She was the counselor that was announcing and emceeing at the Scholarship Award Night at River City. So we shout out our Rotarian Educators of the Year. On Monday evening, we had our family night at the River Cats, and where all of our elementary band students came together, and you see them very small there on the field because we're not allowed to go out there. But we want to shout out our elementary band students who played the national anthem. We had almost 200 tickets sold online just for this family night out, and so we're really happy for that. Usually it's our employee recognition night at Rayleigh Field, but we just weren't able to get tickets late enough in the month, and so we made it a family night. So we want to thank those who went. I think President and Vice President Pizzotti, President Wong were there with their children, so it was a really great family night. So we have principals for a day throughout our community. And this year we had 2 students serve as principal for a day, and this was part of the PTO fundraiser where students were assigned principal for a day. So before I begin this little journey here, wanted to also give a thank you to the person on the right there. That's the PTO president, Erica Lindley, who also was interviewed by the principals of the day. So one of the gifts that we have with them is that they get to grill all of us. And so I want to thank Norma Gonzalez, our new Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, got grilled by the principals for a day. One of the questions they asked her was, what kind of people do you want to hire in the district? And Assistant Superintendent Gonzalez, would you like to answer that question that you gave to the principals?
Yes, so yeah, when I was asked that question, I turned it on the student, or rather our principals, and I said, you know, I want to make sure that when we hire the best teacher to make sure that our students, meaning our principals for the day, receive the best education possible. And I have to say that the students, both, well, actually the second grader made a comment and thanked myself for that, and I thought, my goodness, such manners. And the younger student made a question that added quite a lot of humor, and the question was very stressful. He asked, have you ever been on a Disney cruise? So I thought, okay, that's very important, and I didn't know. I said, does Disneyland count? So anyhow, it was a really fun experience.
They also met the Director of Fiscal Services and the person who takes care of our money. And so what they think business services is about is that providing business swag with Kylie Lane. So they had a good time hearing a little bit about budget, at which point they were probably eating quite a bit as Kylie was talking about the business part of it. So then, of course, they had questions written on notepads for me. One question was, what do you do as a superintendent? Because that's a big word for them. And second of all, it's like, who are you, lady, right? And so really what my answer was, my job is to support. My job is to support people to do their jobs and have the things they need to have in order to serve you well. And so they just looked at me and said, okay, yeah, that's okay, that's a good answer. And then they asked a really hard question, and that was, is Bridgeway Island your favorite school, and why? They almost didn't give me a choice, and so my answer to that, just for the record, is that all of our schools are my favorite schools because each school is unique and special in its own way. So they looked at me and thought, okay, well, that's a pretty good question, a pretty good answer. And then they asked me a question of, what are you most proud of? And what they expected me to talk about was their school. But in all actuality, what I did to show them that we are all people first was I showed them my cell phone there, and I'm most proud of having my 2 children and the people that they have grown to be. The future principals of WUSD, please know that this is Nathan Rahm, and I want you to know he made it very clear to me that I know his grandmother. His grandmother and I were principals back home in Stockton together. So he has principal genes in him already. The second grade student is Leah Barrett, who I don't know how she can stay awake. She is in dance competitions all the time, as well as sports, as well as being an incredible student. And so I just want to tell you, these are our future principals from Bridgeway. Thank you, trustees, for going to the 2019 Capital graduation and reading all of those names and representing Washington Unified on that stage. It's always good when we are actually included in the Sacramento areas work because our other school districts in Yolo County are not necessarily included. And so we appreciate that. Senator Pan is a good friend of our district who supports all the work that we do. And so thank you, trustees, for being there. I just want to put out there that this is the closing weekend of the Aladdin musical, which is over at River City High School. I'm about to show you now. These are all the things that are happening in the next few weeks of school. These are all celebrations. So just for the quick one, tomorrow night I'll be at the River City dance performance because they have a dance performance actually tonight going on. So they're doing 2 performances. The one for sure, Tuesday evening, is always a special evening in our district, and that's when we celebrate and honor all of our employees of tenure of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years of service, and also honor all of our retirees. You see at the bottom there, we have lots of graduations coming up. And so what I'd like to close with today is I received an email from our district attorney's office this afternoon. It was an email thanking Washington Unified School District for the work that they're doing. Today, they had their county meeting that includes all the school districts and all law enforcement of Yolo County. And what they received was a presentation from Washington Unified regarding one of the components of our MTSS, and that is youth court. Because he described it as we are the only one in the entire surrounding area with an innovative practice to keep kids in school and change behaviors long-term through restorative practices. So congratulations to the educational services area where we are trying to address alternatives to suspensions by helping through restorative practices. And the youth court has really been a success. And so we have to take a look at that next year because I know it has changed lives. It may only be a few lives that have had to go through that process, but it has changed lives. And perhaps it has changed those few lives away from the prison pipeline. Perhaps it has given them another path to success outside of Washington Unified that they can believe and know that they can have a successful future. So I'll end with that set of good news. And thank you, trustees, for all that you are doing and all the time that you are spending going to our events. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Luna. So I am going to move on to future board agenda items. And one, update on after-school programs and daycare will be May 23rd. I know we've been waiting on that for a little bit. And two is our LCAP public hearing on June 13th, which is, are we voting that day or are we hearing? We're just hearing that day. So it will be our plan for the upcoming year, any changes that we need to make. And three is our multi-year projected budget public hearing. So we'll hear all the changes that were released today from the governor and all the one-time funds he's giving us. And then we will have a board governance session as soon as we can all figure out how to make 7 people's schedules align. That's not a night. So with that said, do I have any other requests for a future board meeting? Yep. Yes? Okay. Trustee Jackson?
I would actually like to have it's been a few weeks, and I know the contact's been made with the doctors over at UC Davis to kind of get an update of where we are in terms of implicit bias. I know that was something that was brought up. Where are we moving forward with any possible trainings or things like that for next year? Yeah. And just kind of get an idea of kind of where we are moving forward with that.
Okay. And Trustee Alcala?
There was some concern expressed about Westfield, a safety plan there because of Sycamore Trail. So I'm just wondering, I know we spent on consultants and the recommendations were made. Is that online before I ask? For that to be put on where the public can see it?
That because of the sensitivity that they are available. And so, go ahead, Superintendent Luna.
So we have 3 levels of safety plans. One level is for our parents and our public so that they know what procedures are in place. But the second level is, of course, confidential because it has all of the intimate details of exactly where things will be located on campuses of which we really do not want publicly accessed for the safety of the staff and for the safety of students when a crisis happens. The third level of a plan is also for the staff, which is much more detailed, and it talks about the responsibilities. So I believe for all of our schools that there is a safety plan available for parents in terms of the procedures that are in place. And so I will make sure and follow up with all the schools that they have those accessible for their families.
Is that online plan, the first step, is that?
I will check to make sure. I don't know if they are all online or not.
And also, we were given the opportunity to review the plans prior to approving them. So I just want to let you know that I took advantage of that and looked at the levels, and I'm very comfortable.
No, I know we did that, but obviously there are members of the public that still have concerns, so I think it's really important. Trustee Jackson said this, we have to make certain that everyone knows that we're being very transparent with the information that we do have available. And that's important because it really does create a genuine trust in the community, so it's important. And then I guess the only other thing is I was so impressed with those very articulate young people and the concerns they had with the dress code, and I know we went over that, but I'm surprised that it's not consistent throughout the district. I thought that's why we had done that, so there would be a consistency. Yes, so.
The board policies are consistent, yes.
But implementation
Implementation
is a concern, so.
I believe that it feels like everybody who was here in the chambers really, those 4 students compelled us to think about this a little bit more deeply, and Superintendent Luna's nodding her head, so.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, great, so.
President Wong, Trustee Kirby Gonzalez had to go off the phone, but she did request for more information on the Genius Village to be brought to the board, especially as it starts to get rolled out, perhaps after the training.
Yeah, after the training next week.
Okay,
great.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Trustee Jackson also has another, yes?
I remember my senior moment from earlier.
That item has since passed. We have moved past that agenda. Is it related to future board agenda items?
Yes.
Okay.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Because it goes back to what Principal Moishes was talking about. And that, one of the things I would like to encourage and make sure that we all keep in mind as moving forward, because I think the changing of the graduation requirements is a huge and very important thing that needs to be done. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we be aware of that, that our students will rise and fall to the level of expectations that we set for them. And I think it's okay to have them to set the standards to a point where they feel like they have to stretch and they have to reach. Just to kind of put that bit of a challenge out there, because I know if we set it there and we provide the necessary supports and things like that necessary for them to be able to help them achieve that they can reach whatever the standards are that we set forth for them moving forward.
What would you like as a future board agenda item?
So, as a future board agenda item, as that comes back to the board, I would like to make sure that those things are taken into consideration as we consider changing and updating our graduation requirements.
Through A through G?
Yeah, through A through G.
Okay.
Trustee Akala?
Oh, yes.
Over here.
Where is that voice coming from?
I just wanted to give the board an update in regards to your comment. As a future board agenda item, Director Jerry Smith, before he sails off into the sunset of retirement, will be updating the board on everything that we've done, both internally and with our outside consultant in terms of safety and trainings, and talk about next steps moving forward to inform both the board and our public.
Thank you so much, Amber.
Great.
God, we're going to miss you.
Okay, are there, for the good of the order, any more discussion about future board agenda items? It is 8:20, we're not even.
I know, that's why I'm late.
Great, all right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.